What's going on, everyone? I'm your host, Dwight Vick, a founder and owner of Vicktory Life. And today I have a great guest on, a guy I've been a fan of the last 3 to 4 years at the rival school of my son, but I became a huge fan. I am joined today in this Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight by former Battlefield standout guard and now CNU guard, Hasan Hammad. How you doing, man?
I'm honored to be here and excited.
I'm glad to get you on, man. This has been a long time coming, man. I saw you at home during the fall. Felt like everybody was home that day. I saw you. Uh, the older Benkowski was in town, and then I saw Jay Randall and Caden. I think it was the Gainesville Patriot game in football.
Mhm.
Um, and I was so happy. I saw you play over the last 3 years, especially the last two at Battlefield, and I instantly became a fan because I don't care where you play. If you're a baller, you're a baller. And then I just started paying attention to you every chance I got, man. And you have become one of my favorite players who I plan to follow for the next foreseeable years, foreseeable future. But before we talk about where you at with seeing you and all of that, I always like to have my guests talk a little bit about how they got to where they got to. Like let's take it back to when it all first started, man. You have a wonderful big family. Your
Mhm.
aunt is part of my AAU organization, VA Legend. She's one of my team moms. And you have a lot of family that plays sports. And let me ask you this, man, because me and my son Isaiah were talking about this. Do you have, are you related to Abe
Yeah,
at Patriot?
I
Okay,
am.
and there's not to be rude, I can't remember his name. That are you related to at Gainesville or something? Or he was
Yeah,
he at
Muhammad Mo.
Okay, let's clarify this on my show right now. Y'all are all related.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I mean, I've known those guys forever. I mean, like since I remember there at one point we played a flag football team, and there was like there was the three of us plus two others of our like cousins that were just all on that team, and it was. I mean, it's always been like when you have a big family like that, it's definitely you get very competitive. So like a chance to play in a district like the Cedar District where you get a guy on Gainesville, a guy on Patriot that like are your cousins, and so it's like it adds a
Yes.
level to that rivalry.
I'm gonna just say this, man. We missed out on that. I had my pod back then. I have it now, but I really wish I knew that. Then I heard it and it was told to me, but I hear so many rumors and everybody's cousins, and it's not always true. We missed out on that story because you're a baller. Mo was good. Abe had a great year. I don't know if you caught up and saw he had a great year for Patriot this year. So shout out to those two guys, man. Great kids, great players, man. But you been playing basketball and sports for a long time, but it wasn't always easy for you. I mean, I saw you score 29 points your senior year against Patriot at Battlefield. But at the same time, long before you became that player, where did it all start for you? How did you get involved in sports? Because I know family is important to you, school's important to you, but how did you get into sports, man, back when you were young? What got you there?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I mean, it was any sport I wanted to play, I had the opportunity to. I dabbled in tennis. I swam for a little bit. I think the only ones I never played were like baseball, hockey, and golf. Could never really get into that. But since I was little, I remember my first basketball team I played in first grade or kindergarten with the Boys and Girls Club. And since then, I mean, I was always a multi-sport athlete. All through middle school, I know I played soccer in middle school, football, and basketball. And I was doing that all at the same time. It would be like you go to school, you have that soccer practice for the school, and then I was playing football for Coach Charlie Chandler. For
Oh, my man,
Yeah,
Coach Chandler.
and so I was playing for him under I think it was called the Virginia Raiders, or the DMV Raiders, something like that. And we had a great team, and we had Ty Gordon. I know we had the Gainesville quarterback. We had Brandon Binkowski on that team. Uh,
Dang.
we had Deshaun he was at Unity. He played at Mount Zion last year.
Oh,
I mean,
Day Day.
yeah,
We call him Day Day. Yeah.
we had a group back then. And then I would go on to play basketball immediately after. I was doing 3 practices a day. And so then like after that year was kind of when I decided to like calm down, pick a sport, and I kind of just stayed with basketball from then on out.
What's football? What position did you play on the football field?
I was always a bigger kid growing up, so I played that year. I played like right guard. Um,
What?
yeah, and I played my sophomore year, and I was playing tight end and defensive end, and I would take minutes on JV, and then I would get pulled up for varsity. But I never played on varsity because I was always behind Wes Williams. So that's the one. That's
Yeah,
what.
he was at your school. He went to Duke,
Yeah. So
right?
that was one of
He
those
was
guys.
on he was at DN tight end. He was on the team that upset Freedom.
Yep.
Yeah. You guys at Battlefield love upsetting people in the biggest moment. Y'all upset Freedom, you upset Patriot. Y'all have a history of doing that. But all jokes aside, Battlefield, we'll get to this a little later with your career at Battlefield, but I knew about Battlefield. I remember when they opened Battlefield. And since then, over the last 7 or 8 years, I've been paying close attention because, not just with my son, but other kids, they are like a school of champions. They win a lot.
Mhm.
It's a great culture over there. It's not just football and basketball either. I mean, those are the two most popular, but every time I look on the Princeton County page, Alex Q's page, Battlefield this, Battlefield Chili, the Battlefield, it's just crazy, man.
It
Great
really.
culture over there. Yeah. But now I do want to ask you this because I'm not as familiar. I know Abe's parents, but I know your aunt, but I don't know your mom and dad.
Mhm.
Where do you get your competition, your grit, your hunger for sports? Where's that come from? Were your parents? I know you got a great family, but where'd that come from? Like just your
Sure.
interest in sports.
So I grew up, I'm the oldest of five kids. So, I mean, you have competition in a daily life, whether that's you're outside shooting hoops or you're running to get a piece of toast. Like there's always competition. And then my mom's dad, so my grandfather, he is an ex-Olympian who played team USA team handball. Or so
Hmm.
he's a Spanish citizen, so he played for Spain. And then he was kind of shipped around a lot, coaching. So I know he coached in Egypt, he coached in Brazil, coached in Spain, coached in the US. So like growing up, you always have like, yeah, you might be talented, you might be good at your sport, but then you always have like on the back of your mindset, you always have like, okay, your grandfather did this at this age, your grandfather was at this level, and like you always kind of matched up well when it came to that.
Nice. Um, playing the sports you did and with that talented team going back to youth, middle school, but in high school, like a lot of times you hear the term daddy ball or you hear so many tweets or read so many tweets and hear so many comments about parents being overly involved and, people thinking they know. I've always felt like even going back to a long time ago when I played, when you have the village and the support and parents that kind of know their role in the support system, you seem to see that student athlete really be successful. How was your village? Who were some of the people? We're going to get into Coach Bills here in a second, but along the way, were there any teachers, coaches, mentors in your life? Because you can't get to the level you're at playing college basketball and having a high school career you had without the right people in your ear. You want to shout some of those guys out, ladies, women, men, and that have been there for you along the way.
For sure. Obviously, my parents played a crucial role in it. My dad was always kind of the voice of reason, so it was always like,
Mm,
if you want to do this, like, okay, you can do it, but you got to work for it. Obviously, like all glory to God. God has laid down the path for me.
absolutely.
And then like from like a village standpoint, I mean, I come from a big family. My aunts, uncles, they've always supported me, always helped me going. Um, Coaching wise, I mean, I had my JV coach, Coach Hines. He was the
Mm,
coach over at Woodbridge last year for the
yeah,
women. He always was, I mean, always was all like in my ear, helped me out. If I ever needed to get back in the gym, he would kind of help me out. And then another crucial part was the Virginia Playmakers organization. Kind of
Ardi.
yeah, Coach Ardi kind of giving me a place where I can like prove myself. And then I think one of the biggest parts of my journey has been MVM training. And Chauncey Beckett started working out with him in seventh grade, and I mean, to what he's done and how he's helped my game has been nothing short of a blessing. So like I said, worked out with him in seventh grade, and since then I haven't really gone to other trainers. And he's just that's my guy. Like if I ever need to get in the gym, it doesn't matter if it's 5 in the morning, midnight, like I just can give him a call. And there's been countless times where like I walk in the gym and he's like asleep on the couch, just waiting for me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, what he's done, and I'm not the only guy he's done this with. I know, I mean, our training group has been like me, Isaiah Abraham, Pat Ngamba. Recently,
Yep.
we had like Connor Dubsky, who was at Rhode Island this past year. Tyler Perkins, who was over at UPenn, who just had a phenomenal year. So you get guys like that you kind of have a platform to continue to work out and kind of push yourself. We would do runs, and it would just be like you walk in the gym and like in high school, everybody was their guy on their team. So like you said, like at Battlefield, like I would put up 20 at any given moment. But then like you go into these gyms and it's like, okay, every single one of these guys was capable of that. So now you got to figure out how to play on a bigger, like with guys that are really like another level.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Coach Chauncey, man, because I got to know him probably late in my son's career. I knew of him because he trained Trey Terrell and Tavion Faison,
Mm.
as you mentioned, Isaiah Abraham. So I follow him on Twitter and Instagram. He came out and trained one of my AU teams one time. I mean, he's a great trainer, but I watch his videos. I've seen even some overseas players in there, some NBA G League
Sure.
guys in there. I mean, he knows a lot of people and a lot of coaches, and he's got a great track record. But hearing you say about being there any time, I think it goes beyond basketball. But I want to circle back on someone you mentioned, I mentioned, and you confirmed that you said you were with the Playmakers and Coach Ardi. I've gotten really cool with Artie the last 4 or 5 years. She's got an AU organization, has been around a long time.
Mm.
I started mine about 4 years ago. So I got a lot of respect for her. And every time I see her, we show each other love on them, everything like that. But just talk about the playmakers because in the DMV, you and I both live up here. I've been living up here 24 years. You grew up here. And I just said this at the parent meeting. There are a lot of people out here who are like in it for the wrong reasons. And that's
Mm.
that's that's unfortunate, but you have a lot of AAU teams in the DMV, and you see kids bounce around. But you found a home there, and you flourished there, man. Just talk about what it was like to be a playmaker, and how she influenced you, and how she was able to showcase your talents.
Absolutely. I'm gonna take a step back and I'm gonna go back to middle school real quick. So
Yeah,
prior to COVID, I played for Gainesville Travel, just the normal Gainesville team.
yeah,
I had a great
yep.
group of guys. My coach RJ, I mean, he really was just he had been right now he works with Chauncey still. But I mean, he's the one that introduced me to Chauncey. He's the one who kind of took a chance on me to begin with. When I got cut from that A team my eighth grade year. And he just kind of like I don't want to say gave me the keys to the bus, but he laid down everything for me and just said, like, listen, this is the way we can do it. And so that kind of instilled more of a work ethic than I already had. And like kind of was like, okay, I can really do this if I really wanted to put like I can either go two ways. I can put myself forward and really do this, or I can just take a back seat and kind of sit. And I really like took that personal and like pushed myself. And then when COVID happened, I played JV my freshman year, played JV my sophomore year during COVID. And that was kind of a reality check because I kind of thought that I was already like I already had that foot in and could already like make varsity at that point. So I had a great year in JV that year, and then I showed up to the Playmakers tryout. And I was looking at multiple teams. I was looking at teams like DC Elect, higher level, like some teams that I thought were the right place for me. And then I showed up to that Virginia Playmakers tryout more so because they had the UA Rise badge than anything else. And then I saw just the level of competition that was in that gym. And I mean, I was on the 16U division at that point, but we had our 17U division. You had guys walk in like Cam Cole, who's at Navy. We
Yep.
had Adrian Myers, who's over at Mississippi State right now. Like we had some dudes on that division, and they kind of just mixed up everything. So I kind of put myself forward. I tried my best to like prove I belong. And I thought I did a pretty good job until I ended up getting cut from the team.
Really?
Yeah, so at the tryout, I got cut
I
from the
didn't
team.
know this. Wow, this is why I do this. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And then I kind of wanted to like I wanted to figure out why that was. So I went ahead and messaged Coach Ardi. And I was just like, hey, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Can I ask you why? Like not so much from a like I thought I deserved it, but more from like, okay, how can I get better for next year? And like, okay, maybe I didn't have it what I had this year, but maybe next year. And she ended up at that point thinking, like she said, that I was very talented, had all the goods, but there just wasn't a spot for me. And she ended up offering me a spot on her 17U B team. And it was funny enough, we ended up getting seated in the same tournament as them. And I had a pretty good game against them. So I ended up making that team probably a month and a half after the original roster was already set. And then just playing with those guys, I mean, we were undersized for the Under Armour circuit. We were a talented team. We had me, Khalil Abdullah, who's at Hampton right
Mm,
now.
yep.
We had Tristan Alvarez, who he played at Virginia Academy. Idris, I think his name last
Like,
name
oh,
John.
yeah, he went to Osborne.
Yeah, he
Idris.
went to
Yep. I know. I
Osborne.
remember.
He's at Pace University right now. So I mean, we had a group of guys that really, I mean, we were all undersized. We all just kind of we had a little bit of a chip on us. Like I mean, we all had that group that kind of understood like we're gonna go into teams, we're gonna play 7 footers, and our tallest guy is 6'6". Like you just kind of got to deal with it. And we did fairly well for ourselves in that tournament in that group. So what we did that off season, I mean, we never stopped working out. Already had us going. We would do 6 a.m.s. We had 3 a days. Like it was a straight college.
Once y'all going to Gainesville Middle Track?
Yeah, I mean, we had
Yeah.
everything. We
Yep.
do same shots. Then we would do like we had to do workouts and lifts, and then we would go on to do like practice at night, and there were 3 hour practices. And I mean, just that organization, like it really, you can tell, like, yeah, she had that aspect of team involvement, but player development was a huge thing for her. Trying to see her guys get better and be able to like separate themselves from the average player was something that she was really huge on.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna give her flowers right now, and I can't wait for her to see this when I post this. But you talk about yourself and those guys you named on your team, but the guys that's with Isaiah's group,
Mhm.
Desmond, Makai Dillard, Jaquan, Julian Rivera,
Yeah.
who is an animal, Patrick. I always mess his name. Nguyen, I think.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
known Patrick since he was in fifth grade. I mean, that group alone, and I'm forgetting some people. Isaiah Abraham was with her for a few years.
yeah,
You're talking about a great group, man. I mean, and that goes to my next question, because I mean, she put a lot of kids on the map. But talk about this, because you in my area, and my area, the 757, we think we're the best at everything. Um, the Taiwood area, we talk so much about like we got this because we have so many household names from my cousin Michael Vick to Allen Iverson. Um, it's rich in tradition, but I've been living up here in Northern Virginia for 24 years. Prince William for a majority of that. And the last 10 plus years, I talk to this a lot to friends at the barbershop, on Facebook posts, Twitter. Prince William, man, the talent. Now, Northern Virginia, obviously, but Prince William, you talk about, you're on here right now. I'm highlighting your legacy so far, but you mentioned Isaiah Abraham. You talk about Ben Hammond, who's at Paul VI, and then you got the other kid, Patrick, the tall one. I never can say his name, but I grew up with
yeah.
uh, his mom, Taj, and them. But they're from Prince William.
Mhm.
Then you got Tay Barber and so many other guys, Cam Cole. I mean, we can go on and on and on.
Absolutely.
Prince William, football and basketball. You talk about your boy Ty, who was up at Syracuse, the Minkowski family alone. I mean, and that's on the west side. We can go to the east side with even recently with those guys over there. God rest his soul, Kyle Honore.
Mhm.
And then you got Guzman at Potomac now, and another playmaker, TJ Bethea, who
Yeah.
just had a great year, phenomenal senior season.
And then fairly
Gu-
enough, or oddly
yeah,
enough, the committed to Christopher Newport.
he's going to be your teammate, which
Yeah.
we'll get into a second. I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna get to that this next question. I'm glad you said that, but just talk about Prince William before we touch on TJ coming down there and that part. But I mean, do you look at it? Because I know the 757, I'm older than you, obviously. When I got to Virginia Tech to play football, the 757, we took pride. Then we took pride in being from Virginia, but our region, we were so proud, Hampton, Newport News, Norfolk. But I feel like Prince William, man, you take a step back, man, like the talent's insane.
It
Do you ever
really
look like my bump, my district, the kids AAU, we went at it and it prepared me to go do what I'm doing at CNU. Do you take
is.
pride in that?
I do. I mean, we have that conversation on a daily basis with my teammates. Because our team we recruit primarily from Virginia. So we about
Mm-hmm.
a quarter of the 757, a quarter from 804, and then
Yep.
a quarter of us are from like Northern Virginia. So, I mean, we have that conversation all the time. I'm always going to be a Northern Virginia guy. I think Northern Virginia has the best hoops in Virginia. Then you get like Taven Smith, who's my teammate from Richmond. He's like, none of y'all are guarding the John Marshall boys. I'm like, that's a fair statement. I can understand that. And then you got, I
I would
mean,
clap back. I would clap back and say, yeah, but are they all from VA? Because
exactly.
John
And then
Marshall
you
can
have,
pull from every.
yeah, and then you got, I mean, two of my teammates, or three of them. I mean, you have Isaiah Dozier from Oscar Smith.
Oscar
Um,
Smith.
you have Ethan Ward, the big man from Lansdowne, who, I mean,
Oh yeah,
he had a
he's there
phenomenal
with you.
he had a phenomenal senior year. And then like just to wrap up like what year he had this year, we were playing Widener in the round of 32. And I mean, we recruited 9 freshmen for our team this year. So we were a young team with guys like John Hines, who's I mean, he just picked up his third All-American. So we had a group of like seasoned veterans and then freshmen. And so you had Ethan who was playing major minutes. I mean, huge minutes from this kid, and he gets the ball. We have a play where we just kind of swing the ball around. And he just kind of like looked to the left of him, shook off the kid, jab step, took 2 dribbles, and tried to dunk it on 3 people. Like, no joke. Like, I mean, you get the guys, and it's just like the mix that we have that you get from coming to CNU. I mean, it's insane.
Well, number one, the kid from Lance I saw up close and personal against Patriot.
Mhm.
And I kept staring at him and one. I said, boy, Jay Randall and Isaiah got their hands full. He's a grown man.
He really
He looked like
is.
a cyborg, bro. I'm like, and I know he's gotten bigger because he's getting that college food and that the lifting. And
For sure.
so, what? And you know what? We're gonna get to this in seconds. I really want you to touch on the misconception about D3 and CNU because y'all just won a national championship.
Mhm.
Before we touch on that, we both mentioned TJ, who had a phenomenal year. Shout out to TJ, Tony Panthers, and his dad. Great father, Terrence. But TJ had a great year. He had a lot of interest from a lot of schools. He
Mhm.
took a ton of visits. And then most recently, I saw his dad post online, and I saw TJ's IG Twitter post about him coming and committing. And I said, man, listen, man, seeing you, it's a lot of talent there, and great school and a great team.
Mhm.
Were you part of his recruitment? Did you see him on his visit? Did you text him? Did you get involved in that? Because I know how it is back when I played, but I'm old now, so I don't know how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm one of the guys on the team that kind of like takes pride in like knowing who we're recruiting and like reaching out, kind of DMing them, following them. I had a personal connection with TJ through the Playmakers. I had the opportunity to play with him, play against him, work out with him every day at Chauncey. So I mean, it's one of those like when I found out we were recruiting him, I kind of talked to our coach. I was like, listen, let me take the lead on this one. So TJ, I mean, TJ came on his officiate. He stayed the night with me. I mean, I would see him at games, go say what's up to his parents, his family. He came to our Midnight Madness where we unveiled the roster and like we made sure we
Nice.
knew him in the back. So TJ definitely I mean, I'd say he chose right, but I have that little bit of bias on me.
And listen, no, he chose right. And the thing about it is, you just named because the kid from Oscar Smith is there, right? That we were talking about.
Yeah, Isaiah Dozier.
When you talk about Doja, I saw him play
Mhm.
against Patriot. You talk about the CNU recruiting in football and basketball because in football, y'all got my guy, the quarterback, Caleb, who is
Yeah.
my guy. I mentor him, and he hurt his knee. But if he doesn't hurt his knee, they might have won states. I mean, he's coming from Brentsville. It's got to feel good. I know there's always going to be the 804 versus the 703 versus the
Mhm.
757 and throwing in Southwest Virginia. But from a standpoint of VA pride, it must feel good that you guys are away from home 3 hours, 3.5, depending on traffic and where you're coming from, and seeing you. And you guys, kind of like with the Victory Life mantra, you're leaving a legacy. You guys are part of a legacy where there's a brotherhood. Because playing college basketball is special. I'm sure you realize within a few months the blessing it is to be in playing college basketball when a lot of guys you compete against in Prince William and beyond don't always get that opportunity. I was thinking about this most recently when I saw my son and them losing the state championship. He's got a handful of teammates that was their last game ever.
Mhm.
Where you are getting, you're playing, and you're at a great school, and I know there's high expectations coming off a national championship a few years ago, last year, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's an opportunity. So to have TJ there and a lot of VA guys, um, how does it feel? I mean, and I spoke on my perspective, but how does it feel for you when you take a step back and you think about how you're a young adult and you're playing college basketball?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel blessed. I mean, like you said, Isaiah and all those Patriot guys fell. And when we lost to Freedom in that region quarterfinal, I mean, I remember all of those guys. We stayed in that locker room till like 11:30 at night. Our game ended around 10. Like we just, I mean, even the guys that knew they were playing college basketball or college sports or something, like we just sat there balling. So I feel for those guys. But getting the opportunity to come here and kind of be a part of something bigger, it's definitely, I mean, it's humbling. It's a blessing. I personally think that we have the best freshman class in the country. I mean,
Mm,
we recruited 9 guys. All 9 have the opportunity to start somewhere else at a Division 3. I mean,
mm.
you got me and Ryan, both Battlefield dudes. I mean, Ryan was capable of 20 and 12 and 8
Yes, he
blocks
was.
on any given night. And then we've got Brian Weiser from WNL, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year over there. I think he was all region twice, all state one time. That's just from the Nova side. Then we've got 2 Richmond kids, Tyson Henderson, who, I mean, in my opinion, one of the best point guards I've ever played with. Short 5'9" kid, can jump out the gym. I think he won our dunk contest in the Midnight Madness.
Mm.
But insane. I mean, he just the way he sees the floor is just something that like you don't find that. It's not normal. Like it's art is the best way to put it. Taven Smith played a steward. He got overshadowed a little bit by the Curtis kid who's at Liberty right now.
Mm.
Um, but kid's one of the best shooters I've ever played with. I mean, he
Wow.
we would be in practice and like we would do scout team all the time. There's a lot of the time it's a freshman who was on the scout. And I mean, I remember we had one kid from UC Santa Cruz that we had to play. And the kid was one of the best shooters we were supposed to play all year. And so coach is like, yo, like Taven, you catch that ball, you let it fly. Taven
Mm.
torched us. I mean, we just couldn't guard him. Like we thought we were gonna lose the game simply because Taven could not be stopped. And then we've got Million Smith Walker from Williamsburg,
Mm.
6'4" guard. And I mean, he played the 4 for us most of the time, but that kid could run the 1 on any given offense. The rookie of the year in the conference and the region for us was Toa Hollenbeck, pure scorer. I mean, there were games where this kid just did stuff that you just like you don't find that in a player, let alone a freshman. I mean, he came down. I remember the Randolph Macon game. He had 7 straight, all pull-ups. He came
Woo.
down and he had one play where he just like he's a fast break, comes a dude on him, drop, tween, step back, pull from 3. And we were like, oh my God,
Yo, that's crazy.
it's
By the
insane.
way, shout out to Ryan. I forgot he was there with you.
Mhm.
And he was a baller too. I'm gonna get him on one day, man. He was just did he even talk? He just looked like he would just stare, get rebounds, put he was consistent and played hard. He was physical, but I never saw did he even talk?
I
He
mean,
just
I will say we had a thing in high school because so he moved from Idaho. So he
okay.
came to Idaho or came to the Battlefield in his freshman year. Just kind of because. I mean, I don't really know why he came, but
Mm,
I'm happy as hell that he did come. Cause I mean, it was like we unlocked 10% of his personality every year. Like when I graduated, I had only locked 40% of his personality. Um, but that kid is a dog. I mean,
yeah.
he's about 6'4", but plays like he's 6'7". Um, Jumps out the gym. I mean, he's just one of those guys that really just has like a patience to him when he's in the post that it's impossible to guard.
And that's great. And that's a good segue to what I want to touch on before we wrap it up with your time at CNU and what it's like there. But let's talk about your Battlefield days because I had Coach Bills on. I did a 5-part basketball series. So I had Coach Bills on, and I also interviewed him at Prince William County Media Day. And he had Tristan on and Aiden and those guys. And I tell Coach Bills all the time. I've talked to him, off the record, DMing each other. And I was telling him, I said, listen, you lost a special class. Like
Mhm.
Battlefield Patriot, there's certain schools, Potomac, that will always get talent because of where they're zoned and the tradition and pageantry at those schools. But I know special when I see one. And you and Ryan and Tennant and all those guys, Ty, that was a special group. I know Jonathan and excuse me, Chase came over,
Mhm.
but the core he had, I mean, was special. And I've always said, my wife and I've talked about it. I've said this to a lot of people, anybody that would listen. I posted about it. I think Randy Bills is a great coach. I think
Mhm.
he makes great adjustments. He gets the most out of his players. I'm getting to learn more that has a personality because from a distance you can't always tell who is who.
Yeah.
You're not seeing him interview more and talk. He's a funny guy, but that's my perception. That's my
Mhm.
impression. You played for him. You were part of some legendary teams there, one including you helped lead to take to states. Just talk about Battlefield and what it was like to play for him and your memories when you look back on your time there. Excuse me.
Absolutely. I mean, our group that we had, we came in, we've been playing together since we were like third grade. Gainesville Hurricane days. We went over to like Revolution when it was the U, when K Sports was the U. So we had a group of guys that kind of we all knew each other. We've been playing with or against each other since we were little. So we just kind of we didn't have that chemistry building that we needed. Like we just automatically all clicked. So I know like our freshman year, sophomore year, we knew what we had. I mean, when we went in COVID and lost to Potomac
Oh
in
yeah. Oh
yeah, in
yeah,
the
at
region,
Potomac. Yep.
and
They
we
went
get
to states that year.
they went to the state championship and lost to Centerville that year.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, they had a great team that year. And we were a young team. We had, I mean, I want to say Tennant was the leading scorer on that team as a sophomore. So we had a group of guys that just really like could all hoop. And we had one guy who ended up transferring, Austin Trout, who was a part
Oh
of that.
yeah.
And truly, I mean, that kid could ball. And then our junior, senior year, I mean, we kind of all, I mean, I want to say we had eight of us, eight juniors at the time. And then we went on to pick up like five more and made it 13 seniors our senior year. But
That was
we,
crazy.
yeah, it was insane.
It's insane.
But we kind of made like, it was like, we knew that what we had wasn't easy to replicate. And so we just kind of had to go out there. We had the ability to like flip the switch. So we'd go out there and like we'd play knockout in warmups, and then like go on and like when the time to lock in, it's time to lock in. So we
Yeah.
kind of did that. And I mean, our guys worked well together. And I know I mean, one guy that really goes under the radar, Manny King and Carter Cramp. Those
Oh,
two,
Carter. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Carter, good one. Yeah.
those
Manny and
two,
Carter. Yeah.
yeah, those two really, I mean, I don't think we were the group without them because teams
Yeah.
would really focus on me and Ryan and Maddox and Ty even most games. But like I know like when we played South Lakes or my senior year, like Carter Cramp was given the job of guarding Jordan Scott. I want to say Jordan had 5 points that game. Like
Wow.
Carter really locked in on some games, and then Manny, we don't go to the state championship without Manny.
No. No. Well, we're going to get to that in a second. Actually, we'll get to that right now
Mhm.
because you mentioned going to the state championship, man. You know, when I look back on your career, you can't look back and not think about the legendary
Mhm.
Patriot Battlefield rivalry games.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna be the first. I'm a 757 guy. I've been living up here 24 years though. But I told Sherman a few years ago, I said, dude, the crowds, especially after COVID, when everybody was coming back out, I knew about Battlefield. I went to some games when my kids were little. I remember they won their first football state championship against Hermitage. So I knew about, the Den. I knew about, I went
Mhm.
there and I remember one year I went there, they were playing when they were Stonewall, now Unity Reed. They were doing the player intros and the student section pulled up the newspapers.
Yeah.
So I knew about it, but then when you're a part of it, it hits different. And I told Sherm, I said, hey, man, listen, I'm from the 757, dude, and I played football and basketball. I played for Boo Williams. I played football and basketball and played against Allen Iverson and Tony Rutland, two legendary guards, won the state championship. And our games were moved to the Hampton Coliseum where they hold 11,000. They were moved to arenas. However, that rivalry y'all had during the time I've been a part of it, especially your last 2 years,
Mhm.
were epic games. Even if Patriot kind of was up on y'all a little bit, y'all always stormed back. The intensity, the even the fouls, but it wasn't dirty. And it wasn't like we're gonna see y'all after the game, but it was
Yeah.
intense. It meant so much. But again, that's my words,
Mhm.
Haas. Tell me about that rivalry when you look back on it.
I mean, it was electric to the least. I grew up in Bristow. I was zoned for Stonewall most of my life. Went to Marstow. That's where I played my middle school days. So, I mean, like there's photos of me, Jay, Caden, and I mean, like we were all on the same team at one point. And then when I was moved over to Battlefield, it just adds another level to that rivalry. I mean, you got friends, you've got family on the other side, and you walk into those gyms and like, yeah, I mean, you have other games where it's like, oh, like people, you have family in the stands, you have like friends in the stands, your classmates, whatever. But like you walk into those gyms and you can't hear anything. You can't
Mm-mm.
like your mind is like fuzzy just because like they're so loud in there. You can't hear your coach. Like there was times where I would have to run up like the sideline closest to our bench just to hear the play call because that's how like I don't know. It just it. I don't. I mean, we played them 5 times my
5 times.
year,
Yeah,
three my senior year. There's not many teams you can say you played 8 times in 2 years. And I mean, those
yeah,
games were competitive. I mean, we were the two best teams in the conference, arguably the region. At one point, they had us in the states as the top three with Hayfield. So I mean, like you don't get those games often. And I mean, we would go into games and everybody always had us as the underdog. I mean, I don't know why, even though we kept on losing to them, but I mean, we were talented, they were talented. It was a toss up each game. So
yeah. Yeah, well, I want to dive into that a little bit, just a little bit.
mhm,
Especially now that I got you on my pod and you're done. So I remember I want to ask you about a few things. Let's go back to that your junior year, excuse me, when you lost those 4 games. The first one was close. Chase Nelson had the chance
yeah,
to at the end, and then the other one was senior night. I believe that was the fire alarm night or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, we went out and it was freezing. We came back in. Patriot kind of jumped on y'all. Y'all came back and then they pulled
Mhm.
away late. Then the third one, it was like districts and regionals. One was crazy because it was a blowout, but the other one, they got on y'all real big. And Coach Randy Bills, I remember he was on the podcast. He said, I called a timeout and told my guys we can lay down or we can fight. And he said, y'all decided to fight. Y'all made it very close. You
Mhm.
lost, but he said that led into the confidence. But when y'all upset Patriot, that Patriot to go to the States and play Hayfield. Is that accurate? Is that what you remember?
Absolutely. I know that first game, I had a key turnover that kind of lost us the game. Where I did an in and out cross, drove, and I kind of remembered like I had seen Courtney Davis out of the side of my eye, but didn't really think he would get there in time. And I kind of like jumped past through it and it went right to him. So I lost us that first game. And that second game, I mean, senior night, and they just kind of they gave it to us. And same with the district championship. And then the region championship, honestly, we were down like 20 going into halftime. And I mean, we had that conversation just sitting in that locker room. And I mean, we looked defeated. I mean, there was no way that we were like, if anybody walks in that gym, they would have thought we had lost. I mean, it was bad. And Coach Randy just kind of told us, he's like, listen, like, you guys want to pack the buses, we can pack the buses, like straight up. If y'all want to go home, we can go home. Or we can fight and actually prove we belong to be here. Because we know we belong here, but we just got to prove it. And I know in that game, I mean, we went small. We had Kyle Zambrana, who I think he's at George Mason right now. Just kind of, he's a student. But Kyle came in big for that game. Jonathan came in big. Chase came in. I know I had like 15 or 14 unanswered in the third.
Did
Um,
you? Yes, you did.
yeah, that was kind of the turning point for me when it came to Patriot games. 'Cause I had never played well in a Patriot game prior to that. I just really hadn't. And then when it came to that game, it was like, oh, like I can actually do this. Like you always go to that like mindset of like these guys can't guard me, and then like that was like, oh, like this is the truth. Like they actually might not be able to.
Yeah,
Then that last game, like you think about how the first game ended, where I threw that turnover on that in and out cross, and I know we came down, and I wasn't having a great game. I twisted my ankle for like early in that game, so I was kind of limping the whole game. And with like 10 seconds left, I had the ball. We threw the ball to Maddox. Maddox kind of got trapped, but he kicked it back, and I saw Mike Ackerman in front of me, who was the same guy in front of me in the first game. It was deja vu because it was the same setup
yeah,
and I
yeah.
did the same move in and out cross downhill, and I saw Bryce Hammersley had cut through the baseline because we had Ryan in the high post, so Bryce cut through the baseline, and I saw Dez stop because I mean at that point everybody knew I was driving,
Yep.
everybody. I
Yep.
couldn't shoot in high school. Didn't really shoot mid ranges. Wasn't the best passer. So it was like, okay, he's going up. He's gonna go take it. He's gonna try and be the hero. And I seen that Bryce in the corner, and I tripped a little bit. Like I barely had that,
Did.
and I just seen him, fired it, he hit it, and that was one of those like, okay, this is how the first game ended. The last game's gonna end differently. And it was, I mean, it really was textbook.
Yeah. And you guys celebrated. I was in disbelief, but I wasn't in disbelief because I didn't think y'all could beat Patriot.
Mhm.
Was in disbelief because Patriot that year, it was a special year for them. Y'all only had a handful of losses. Most of them were to Patriot.
Yeah,
And Patriot was 26-0. And Mike Ackerman would hit a big shot. Nick would hit a big shot. Jay Randall would get a charge. Akeem Nasir would have an and one. Caden
absolutely.
had, not Caden, excuse me. Courtney had a great steal. Isaiah would get a key block against Potomac that, led them to the regional final. And it was just, they didn't make the play at the end. And it was crazy because to segue and transition into the state championship game, again, y'all would underdog against a legendary Hayfield team that was also undefeated. And I
Absolutely.
remember I was home because I went into work late that day. And I remember watching a majority of the game until like late in the fourth when it looked like they were going to win.
Mhm.
And they did. But in the first half, y'all were cooking Hayfield. Y'all were
Yeah,
going right at them. I mean, I was like, yo, Battlefield about to win state.
yeah. I mean,
And then, you know,
we had everything going for us. I mean, the game plan. I mean, we kind of went in with that like we knew we could do it, but we just have to prove it again. I mean, we were a group of guys that nobody thought we were going to get there. Nobody thought we were going to be Patriot, and then here we are. So we went in, and I think Hayfield kind of had that chip on their shoulder of like, we're the undefeated team. We got to keep it. And so I know David King picked up fouls early. I know Ryan, my roommate, tore his labrum in the
wow.
first 3 minutes of that game. I think if we have Ryan in that game, we probably. I
Is
have
that what happened? He did. I never knew the injury.
Yeah,
Is
it
that
like
what happened?
like I want to say third possession. He
Man,
was
that's
guarding David.
huge.
Yeah, he was guarding David. David drop step, and I think like Ryan's arm got caught or something.
Oh man,
Straight.
I
Yeah.
remember it, but I didn't really know. It's crazy, man, because people don't know this, but I know this because I pay attention.
Mm.
And the Hayfield players knew this. And Lowe said this on a podcast he was on. He said, "Oh yeah, we're looking forward to playing Battlefield because they beat us earlier in the year in the fall league.
Yeah,
People didn't know that y'all beat them.
and that was a game. I mean, we were at Mount St. Mary in like the little
Yep,
back gym they got,
yep,
and we went in. I mean, at that point, I'd known Greg just from playing him in AAU. Didn't really know,
mm-hmm,
didn't really know. I knew DJ Holloway. Just
yeah.
I knew him through like Audacity Wildcats, another AAU team.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Rodney, my man
Yeah,
Rodney's team. Yep.
yeah. So I knew Rodney, and I knew him through that. Didn't really know him personally, but we knew they were good, and we knew that
Mm-hmm.
they had a squad that year. And we went in and like again that game. I think I had 12 in that game. Couldn't really tell you for sure, but I know that game ended with a Chase Nelson buzzer beater to beat them.
Oh, it was a buzzer beat. I didn't know the
Yeah.
details.
And it was packed gym. I mean, it was insane. Like we thought that game, and that ended our 3 game day that we had there. So we were exhausted. We had an hour drive back. We all slept the entire time. Like, but that was a game. And then going into that state game, I mean, we started that game. I had started, Maddox started, Chase started, and we had like Ryan and Bryce, who just had a great game.
Mm.
And when we came out hot, Maddox was hitting, Chase was hitting. I was taking guys off the dribble. Ryan really got into the paint really well. And then I think we ran out of gas. The losing Ryan was big for us. We had some trouble. I kind of sat the most of the second half just because I had 3 fouls early. Um,
Yeah.
and I think if things go differently, we get them again that year, might be a different outcome.
That's how it is, man. You get there, you get so close, and Ryan getting hurt or foul trouble. It's just weird how it goes sometimes, man. But
Mhm.
one last reflection question. Your senior year, I know y'all got upset against Shamar and Tavares in
Yeah.
overtime. Didn't it go to double overtime?
Triple overtime.
Triple overtime, which was crazy. You guys were going back and forth, but it is what it is. It doesn't take away the great career you had. But when I became a fan, I liked you. But when I
Mhm.
became a fan was the opening your senior year, my son's junior year. And Isaiah and Caden had a great game. But Isaiah, it was done by Princeton County Sports Entertainment. He was on fire, first and second half. But what I remember, and you and I talked about this when I was scheduling you to get on, is I'm quiet when I watch the games. I'm looking, I said, yo, this dude, Haas is unstoppable.
Mhm.
And then you kids say pause because somebody beside me is like, yo, he's so thick and strong. I was like, what? But we say pause, but like
Yeah,
all jokes aside, you couldn't be stopped either. It was just that, you know, um, was it Tennant? He was a little off that game,
yeah, I
right?
think so.
And you just said, okay, get on my back.
Mhm.
And you had 29 that night. And you were just putting the team on your back. And I stopped you over in the cafeteria area and I told you I became one of your biggest fans, man. But the one thing that stood out to me wasn't just your scoring and your effort. Your leadership's always been there. It was, oh, this dude got a little chip on his shoulder.
Mhm.
You play with a chip, man. Like you play, it's not, it's not dirty. It's kind of like Luca, where you know I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to win. I'll smile and laugh at you at the foul line, but I'm coming back at your neck. I'm at your neck. Is that true? Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. And first off, thank you. But I mean, going into those games, like I don't really do the whole talking smack and like chippiness. Like to me, it's always just a smile. If you're gonna smack talk me, I'm just gonna smile.
Yep, you do.
Like kind of not really let it phase me. Like I'm that kid. Like, and my teammates get mad at me all the time about it. And a dude, like, if people are talking smack to me or like whatever, like I'm always the guy to turn around and make a joke back at them and kind of just like laugh about it. I don't really let it phase me. And in those games, it was kind of just like I don't know. It was like I remember the first like three plays of that game. I took like two players off the dribble and just floated it. And they both went in. And I kind of was like walking back. I looked at Bills and I was like, damn. Like it's one of those, like, damn. And it kind of went on through the rest of that game where I was like, I felt hot, felt like I had it in me today. And like you said, like some guys probably didn't have their best night that night, but ended up, I
Ty
mean,
was at a sabbatical or something with
yeah, Ty was in
family.
Thailand.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
so
don't know. Yeah, he was away. Yeah,
yeah. But it was one of those where I was just like, listen, like, if we need it, we need it. If we don't, and these guys are hot, I'm gonna feed them the ball. Cause I was running the one at that time. And you can't really be like a one if you're just gonna take the dribble every time. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, listen, if I got it in me and we run a pick and roll and I have him, like I'm gonna take him. If not, then I know I'm gonna have two people on me and Maddox is gonna be in the corner, Ryan's gonna be in the paint. Like we had so many weapons on that team where I knew
yeah.
like in that game, it was my game. But then it was like in a Gainesville game, it was Maddox's game. I know like Champ, Ryan had like 24 and 12 and 10, like 10
Mm-hmm.
blocks. Like that. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, cool. His game, he gets the ball. Like it was one of those where we just had anybody who could really go off at any given moment. So in those games, it was definitely like, okay, like the kid in front of me might not be able to guard me, and it might not be this dude's greatest night, and they're really focusing on him. So like pass fake to him, dude goes flying, attack.
Yeah. You described it and you described it well, but more importantly, man, it just shows what kind of player you were because pay attention. I'm observant. I got four eyes for a reason. So I watch stuff, I look at stuff, and I watch you smile because I know trash talk is part of the game, especially in the rivalry games. But so you never really look mad, and even when there's like grabbing and pushing and Carter and Ty getting into it with players, you just was
Yeah,
like, hey, like chill, 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 like. But at the same time, you did in typical Battlefield fashion on Jay Randall and them senior night. You got your lick back, forced a tiebreaker game, which was held at Gainesville High
yeah.
School. You played well that night again. Patriot got the better of it though, and then y'all shocked everybody by unfortunately losing to Freedom Woodbridge, and it took a three overtime effort and a heroic game by Shamar and Tavares, who were, in my opinion, at the time that year, two of the best guards in the DMV backcourts, and then on top of it, Tavares is now the second all-time leading scorer in Princeton County history. Again, another guy in the Prince William that just cooks and does it, gets buckets and balls. Man, our county is for real. But with that being said, before we wrap up, I just got a few more. Talk a little bit about CNU. You talked about all the talent y'all got. You put it out here and let it be known. You sit on business and said you guys got the best freshman class in the country. I'm not going to debate that because I know several of those players you named.
Mhm.
But just talk about CNU, what it's like. Allow yourself to talk about why you made the right choice and what it's been like so far. And on top of it, I'm not gonna tell you what to say, but just let it be known too that yo, we play ball out here. It's real. Just talk about your experiences so far.
For sure. Coming in here as a freshman in August, I mean, it was a culture shock. I mean, you come in and you was the guy in high school. You don't really got, I mean, we have runs at Lifetime and stuff, but they're not like the runs here. And you walk in and you have to guard a guy like John Hines, who's a three-time All-American. I mean, he had 39 against Barry this year. And it's like, that kid can go. And you had, I mean, like, I was always bigger for my size. So I had kids like Ryan, who like I could hang with. But then you walk in here and like your big man is Trey Barber, your big man is Jake Lotta, your big man is
Yeah.
Ian Anderson. All of them are 6'8", 6'7", 6'9". And I mean, Trey was an All-American last year. Trey had the national championship buzzer beater against Mount Union.
Yep.
Uh, and these guys are like dogs. I mean, even the guards here, I mean, the way it is here, it's just like they hold you to a different level. Like you here for a reason. I mean, I went on visits all through my high school career. Like, and I was really blessed to have that opportunity to be able to see a lot of other schools. But when I kind of came here, I knew like this was the right place for me. And they hold you to a different level academically and athletically here. Like if you're falling behind in the class, like you're going to study hall, you're not going to practice, like straight up.
Mm,
Like
that's great.
it's there's nothing about CNU that's easy. You got to work for everything here. The gym, I mean, you got to be in the gym or you're gonna fall behind. You got guys like Toa Hollenbeck. I think Toa Hollenbeck is one of the hardest working dudes I've ever played with.
Mm,
We would be in. I mean, I'm one of those guys that really enjoys getting in the gym. I find peace in getting in the gym. So like
yeah.
if I'm having a hard day in school, I'm gonna spend a little extra time in the gym.
Yeah.
Toa, one of those guys that's like the game starts at 7, I'm in the gym at 2. Like, and you would get there and you in like your tracksuit. I'm there 2 hours early, 2.5 hours early. Toa's in his uniform getting shots up on the shooting machine.
Love it.
Like,
Love it.
and it's one of those where it's like, I mean, he's not the only one. You have Isaiah Dozier, who's a really hard working dude. I mean, Zay works for everything. Same with Tyson. I mean, those three super hard working. I think Ryan's at the gym right now. Like, all the guys are just consistent. Like, if you gonna not work out, you're gonna fall behind, and that's just how it's gonna be.
I love
And
it.
those guys, I mean, like when we lost our in the Elite Eight to Guilford on a buzzer. I mean, those guys, like we had a freshman meeting, and we did this throughout the year periodically, where we just kind of brought all the freshmen. We had only had one other underclassman, Colin Hines, was a sophomore, and the 10 of us would just like we all circled up, and we straight up made it known that like this isn't gonna happen again. And quite frankly, I'd hate to be another Division III on our schedule next year because
I believe it.
we just like the way we treating things and we're handling it is just like it's second to none. I've never been in a culture like this where it's like we lost. Okay, it sucks. You got a few days to deal with that pain, and then you turn that into motivation. You really just get after it.
Yeah. And are you able, I know, because you and I talked about it, and I know D3, D2, D1,
Mhm.
certain periods, academics and meetings, and when you can live and work out. But are you able to enjoy the 757 college life, the culture down there? Are you able to hit the beach? Are you able to get out,
Absolutely.
to Oyster Point? Just, because I'm from down there. So I
Mhm.
know one thing I miss, even though it's eons ago in college, was student athlete life was rigorous and it was meticulous, and at times it was a challenge. But once you get older, you get acclimated, you start to really enjoy college life. Being at Virginia Tech, you go hang out at VCU, JMU, Tech, you can go over here and there, but you're in an urban area. So are you able to just enjoy college life as well?
For sure. I'd say like our if you're ahead of your things academically, you kind of have that leeway where you can kind of do as you wish. Now if you're behind, you're behind. Like you gonna get 3 or 4 calls an hour being like, yo, did you do this assignment? I mean, we have meetings with our academic advisor, we meet with our
Yep.
coach, we gotta just talk about what we got going on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then our lists and all that stuff. But for the most part, like if you like I have class 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I'm done for the day. So if you go get your homework done ahead of time, then you have from 11 to 6 o'clock when the sun goes down, you can kind of just go to the beach, have a good time, kind of hang out. And just I would say it's a very being a college athlete isn't easy by any
No,
means.
no.
But if you learn time management fairly early, then it'll be pretty enjoyable.
I believe it and I remember it. And hearing you say it is good because that means that coaching staff and administration doing their job because that's well said. Last question for you, and it's more so an opportunity to speak on it, and then we'll wrap up. Every episode I give my guests a chance to give that final point, that feedback, man. You have been blessed. You've overcome adversity. You keep getting better as a player, a student, and student athlete. You take pride in your craft, and a lot of people respect you on and off the court. Me, one of them. But with that being said, it doesn't come without life lessons. And you are in the position because you listen and you paid attention. Now I'm going to give you a chance to give feedback to some people watching this who want to be in your position and achieve the things you've achieved. What will you say to kids right now that's going to see this, when I put clips out there and it gets shared online? What do you want to say to the up and coming, I don't care if they're Battlefield, Potomac, Patriot, middle school ball, Mets, Bull Run, to student athletes, young men and women that want to get to that level and get to college and beyond? What are some of the things you've learned and you want to tell them that you did that they should definitely do at this stage in their life?
Absolutely. It's kind of two things that kind of go hand in hand. Basketball is one of those sports where what time you put into it, what you'll get out of it. So like whatever effort and energy you put into it, it'll reap its benefits. And at the same time, like hard work beats talent, but when talent doesn't work hard, but that kind of goes both ways. Like if you working hard and you getting better, then that proves like, okay, you got something to you. Your talent is going to raise as a benefactor of that. But if you're going to the gym and you kind of just acting all lackadaisical, not really getting like anything done, then it's going to show. I mean, especially
Yep.
at this level, like if you just go into the gym and kind of BSing when you putting up shots, and then the kid on the other side of the court is, I mean, he's over there, he's doing full court sprints, coming down, pulling up shots from three. They're all game simulated. I mean, it's really going to show. So if I were to say something, it's like if you're going to be in the gym, like one, I highly advise it, and then two, like whatever you do in life, like put your effort into it because it really matters in the long run.
Outstanding feedback, outstanding advice, and you're living proof that that works and you will see results. Hasan, I
Thank
can't thank you enough, man. On behalf of Vicktory Life, we thank you. And to those that are supporting Hasan, family, friends, fans, please continue to support him. CNU basketball, his career, he's just getting started. I've been a fan now. I'm not president of his fan club, but I'm on the board and committee. But Hasan, man, I wish you nothing but blessings and success and a great upcoming season. Continue to hit the books, continue to work hard. Sky's the limit, and I know you're going to do well. Like I tell everybody every episode, make sure you subscribe to see great interviews from great guests like Hasan. And like I say, every episode, make sure no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you have a great impact and you live a great legacy. Thank you, Hasan.
you
Appreciate
for
you.
having
And
me.
to everybody that supports Vicktory Life, continue to do that, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.